get him. Let's go get him today, man. Let's go. Hey, dominate on 3. 1, 2, 3, dominate.
I want to backtrack, talk about the matchup we just had, because the 49ers had a pretty dominant performance, a 41-23 win, but we do want to isolate where they could have improved. So what are kind of the areas that you thought the 49ers struggled with versus Seattle?
Yeah. First of all, I think a lot of it was a little bit overblown. I know that at halftime they were down by 1. Jimmy Ward, I mean, terrible penalty to make that
Right.
happen. But the 49ers weren't playing great on either side of the ball, and they still really realistically should have had a lead going into halftime. They should have been up 16-14. I think that game was as much of a product as playing Seattle for a third time and them just kind of being used to the 49ers physicality, knowing what to expect, seeing it for a third time. I think a lot of it had to do with that. And when you really break down the game, it was one quarter. It was the second quarter. 49ers were better for 3 quarters, but that one quarter, Seattle did their thing, and it made it closer than what it should have been. I think looking at that game for me, overall you would hope the defense would have suffocated them a little bit more, a little bit quicker. And it was still even dicey at the beginning of the third quarter before that strip sack. So it took a little bit. It took a little bit for this team to get on track. It took a minute for Purdy to get going. It took a minute for the defense to get going. So I would say start faster. I mean, that's definitely got to happen. But overall, when you really break down the game, I don't think there was really anything that was super alarming, at least from my standpoint, other than start a little bit faster. And when you know you're the better team, end it earlier. That's what I would say. But I don't think there's anything to be super scared of from that game. I really do think a lot of it is a product of a division opponent, third time seeing them. You got to expect their best in that scenario.
Yeah, I think that that's the case, right? Obviously, the 49ers Seahawks have played a good amount this year. The last game was a little closer than the first game, but the 49ers have fairly been dominant in all 3 performances. It's been out of hand for the majority of the game. Obviously, in the last one in week 15, Seattle pulled through with 3 minutes left, but the 49ers shut it out. And before that, it was 28-7. So they had majority of the season against the Seahawks. When you talk about the struggles, yeah, there were some things in the first half, but really, I don't think that anything wasn't fixable when you talk about it. Brock Purdy, his performance, playoff jitters. He had him. He knows it. Kyle Shanahan knew it. Everybody knew it in the beginning. But the good thing, the one thing we've seen with Kyle Shanahan has been he has altered what his game plan would be when his quarterback has faltered in the playoffs. And this time, that wasn't the case. He went to Brock Purdy 19 times in the first half. Purdy completed 9 of those passes, but he continued to dial up shot plays, taking advantage of a Seattle defense trying to stop the run and really try to play to that strength and instill that confidence in Purdy. Purdy responded in the second half with a 9 of 11 performance, 175 yards, a dominant performance in the second half because he was able to relax after that first half. But it's cool to see Kyle Shanahan stick with his quarterback, have the confidence in it after not necessarily having. I'm not saying Kyle Shanahan shouldn't have done it before with Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's cool to see that he had that confidence and that confidence paid off in the second half. And one other thing I want to point out, a lot of people worrying about the 49ers not running the football in the first half. I don't think I had a problem with the way Kyle Shanahan called that game in the first half. And you saw what he did when the Seattle Seahawks adjusted to the amount of time San Francisco passed. They ran the ball a significant amount in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely they did. And it seems like it's interesting because you look at the San Francisco 49ers, you have the number 1 defense, so many studs on that side of the ball, but really this team is starting to become an offensive driven team. You're starting to see the passing of the torch from the defense to the offense. Really, the offense is more talented when you look at it. I mean, there's many more all pros on that side of the ball than there is the defensive side. I think now that they have a quarterback that they feel like can at least do a little something extra than what Jimmy gave us, I think it's just enough for this offense to really tick. You add in CMC. It's like I said, it's crazy to say it with the number one defense, but I think this is an offensive team. I think it's an offensive driven team. And that's not something we've been able to say in the Shanahan era, in my opinion.